Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another episode. I am very happy to be doing this episode today because this is something new that I have been doing lately with my current organization that I'm employed with. So recently I have been interviewing candidates for various positions in the organization, one being a remote monitor / in-house CRA type person. So I think a lot of the tips and things I'm going to talk about in this episode are going to be applicable to people interested in any position. But I just wanted to disclose that this was for a remote monitor / in-house CRA position. And this is going to be a position that is going to be, of course, if you're familiar with in-house CRA, it's going to be somewhat administrative. No meeting minutes, no agendas or anything, but collecting documents, uploading them into the TMF. Making sure that the TMF is up to date, assisting the CRAs that are going on site with that kind of document collection and tracking, if you will. And then they might do some remote monitoring also, some interim monitoring calls with the sites, things of that nature, and then really kind of helping the CRAs with whatever they need. So that's breaking down what an in-house CRA is. But I had the opportunity to interview candidates for this, and I wanted to share the kind of the results of going through that process with you guys out there, because I know a lot of you guys are interested in becoming clinical research professionals, breaking into the industry, or even if you're a study coordinator looking to be an in-house CRA, or you're a clinical trial assistant looking to be an in-house CRA, or whatever it may be. I wanted to share this with you and what kind of goes on in the background so that I can better help your approach. So kind of as you get more involved with an organization, you've been there for a couple years, they want you to kind of help out with people underneath you, hiring in that regard. Or if they've got people in your exact position, they want to, have you interview with them to kind of see how you'll get along with them, see if they'll be a good fit working with you in that role. So that's kind of what happened here. And, so I talked with the hiring manager, of course, and I talked with the recruiters. So the recruiters kind of set up the whole thing. And, this time we had, a 30-minute interview session face to face. And the recruiter kind of set it up. And then they gave you a kind of list of things to talk about. And then, you had to talk with the hiring manager, and they talked about specifically what they wanted you to talk about. And of course, as I talk with all of my clients who sign up for interview preparation, once again, that is available now. So if you want your resume reviewed or interview preparation or LinkedIn review with me personally, you can email me eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. So as I always talk about with my clients, is behavioral interviewing is very, very important to make sure that you understand how to do, because that's very, very important in what clinical research organizations and pharma companies are very, very interested in right now. So if you are not good with that, you need to brush up, and I can help you there. But of course, this is what the hiring manager wanted me to pound on, was behavioral interviewing. And now these departments are getting very, very sophisticated with it. It's not just simple questions of, how do you act in this situation anymore? They've got various sectors. They have it targeted, like, how is your empathy? And they have a list of questions for that. How is your creativity? They've got different questions for that. So they kind of break it down, and it's crazy seeing that, being on the hiring side as opposed to being on the candidate side. So once again, I'm not going to go on how to prepare for all that in this episode, but you can go check future episodes or past episodes I've done on interviewing and, interview tips of that nature. And of course, we go over this with our clients on one-on-one basis, how to, navigate that. But basically in this episode, I just want to talk about, how I approach that interview with that person, that interview. So first thing was I would like to ask about someone's background. So this is the tell me about yourself question that so many people get. So I like to ask about this because I want to know, what do you deem as important about your background? I've read your resume in advance, and I see some things I want to ask about that are interesting, but I want to know from your perspective what you find interesting about your background. So that kind of tell me about yourself question kind of gets at that. And then, you know, if you mention something, for example, you know, you were on the project management side, I may go into that because I was on the project management side before. Or if you mention, you know, you were a study coordinator, I might go into that a little bit more just because I'm interested in what you did as a study coordinator. Or if you say some other interesting stuff you did, like the Peace Corps, or, you know, you went and built houses on the moon or something crazy like that. Of course, I want to ask about that too, because that's cool. So I like asking about that background, and you never know what kind of rabbit hole that'll take you down, but it really gives you opportunity to kind of get to know someone and know what they're about. So I love that. So I start with that. And then, you know, of course, I want to know any roles that you have had in the past that I think would be pretty good experience-wise for the current role. So we talk about those roles. Why you think you're experienced enough for this role, what kind of experience in the background do you think translates well to the current role that you're interviewing for. So we talk all about that. That takes some time. And, you know, for most people that are interested in in-house CRA, sometimes it's entry level, sometimes it's not. But it's usually, at least currently, 2019, July, this is not a role that, you know, you're just going to get without any kind of clinical research experience for the most part. So, you know, I expect to see some CTA or project management assistant experience before that, because they're just hard to get now. You know, being 2019, they're just hard to get now straight up out of college. They used to do it, not as much anymore. Parexel used to have this role called CMA. I think it was Clinical Monitoring Associate. And last I heard, they completely did away with it. That was a great role that a lot of my friends got their start in the industry. And that was one of those roles where after a year, leading up to a year, 10 months, they were pushing you out the door to become a CRA. They were just pushing you out that door, and it was just so much easier to become a CRA back then. But that's not the case anymore. So, yeah, so back on track here. I'm going to ask a lot about the experience that you have for the current role that you are interviewing for. So that's kind of the thought process there. And then third, and probably most importantly, tons of behavioral questions coming off of that. So usually the interviewer, you know, if you're talking about your previous role, let's say you're on the project management side, you know, project management assistant type of role. I might ask how how did you work with the project manager? How did you work with data management? I might ask about that interaction, or, you know, what was your least favorite task? How did you work doing that every day? You know, so of course, if you're an assistant role, you might have to do meeting minutes and agendas. How did you make sure you were on time with that and, you know, didn't mess up? So it's easier when me as an interviewer has more experience to go off. So if I was somebody who just became a CRA, you know, straight up out of college and didn't start from the bottom, you know, as a project manager assistant, then an in-house CRA, then finally getting to a CRA, I wouldn't know what questions to ask. But because I've had these previous roles, I know what questions to ask, and we can kind of vibe on that wavelength because I'm familiar with those tasks and what it's like, you know, starting at the bottom. So hopefully your interviewer who interviews with you has had that experience also, because then they'll be able to empathize with you and, you know, kind of take them down memory lane when they start at the bottom also. So tons of behavioral questions are going to be asked, and really depends on your interviewer, but I kind of like to take that time and go through that progression and really with that exact same progression, because I want to know who I'm interviewing. And I think that seems to work a lot. So those are the top 3 kind of bases to cover during your interview. Now, of course, if there's anything else like an essay, or if there's something like where you have to prove some kind of technical skill, you know, I'm not talking about that stuff, but I'm talking about like the basic stuff for a lot of those out there that listen to this channel when it comes to you know, interviewing for your normal clinical research jobs. So that's about it I wanted to say in this episode. So I am definitely on the hiring team now. And I'm sure I will have more interviews later, but I just wanted to kind of break this down with you guys, what happened in that first in-house CRA interview, remote CRA central monitor role. And I feel like this hopefully was helpful to some of you guys that are interested in that same type of role also. So more to come later behind the scenes from a hiring team. So hopefully that adds a lot of value to you all. And then hopefully to those that are interested in interview prep, that'll add a lot of value to you also, to those clients there. So once again, email me, eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com for any inquiries you may have, any questions you want to ask. I will sometimes do an episode just for that question if it's one I haven't done before, or even if it's phrased in a way that is unique. So hope that helps. Take care, guys.